It's a speck of dust at your feet. I want to reside eternally at your feet. I don't want to reside here. I don't want to serve my mind and senses anymore. I want to serve you. What would be the best way to serve you? I just want to be at your feet, and I can serve you. So meditating on this, and singing, "Oh, Son of Nanda, I am your eternal servant. Somehow or other, I've fallen to the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up and place me as an atom at your feet," like that. And singing, like, wow. That's my new go-to mantra for Japa. It's like perfect. It's like the perfect mood, isn't it? Yes. So that's what Japa is. That's what chanting is. It's a prayer. It's a mood. It's not a ritual. It's not I have to do it. Like Guru said, I have to. Like you have to go to work. It's not like that. So what has transformed devotees' japa more than anything is connecting with the proper mood. And once you connect with the proper mood, you don't have to worry about your mind. It says you don't worry about it when you pray. It's not an issue. That's kind of the basis of what I wanted to say. Now, it's really up to you to cultivate proper moods when you chant, connect emotionally. Before I end, we have to address this question of how do you connect emotionally and still hear? Because this has become a problem. It's not a problem, but it's become a problem. Like yesterday, we were doing the course on self-care, and some devotees had difficulty understanding something because they were approaching it from a previous understanding. They were getting confused. But what I was explaining was actually quite simple. But because of the previous understanding, it was confusing because you're like, but I understand it this way. And you're saying it this way, and I'm getting confused. So it's like you've heard for year after year, just hear and chant. And then now you hear, well, it's really bhakti is all about the emotion, the internal. And you go, well, if I'm going to focus on the internal, how do I hear? And making a distinction, like it's two different things that you can't do. You know, like if I'm going to pick up the food, how can I put it in my mouth? Like, what kind of question is that? If I'm going to put it in my mouth, how can I chew it at the same time? It's like it doesn't make sense. So we're complicating it. Like, how can I feel when I'm supposed to hear? Well, you're feeling all the time, 24/7. You can't stop feeling. It's just what is the feeling you're putting into your japa. So I'll try to make it simple. As I was saying before, when you're hearing the holy name, it means now you're in the present moment. Because if you're not in the present, you don't hear it. You're somewhere else. Or you're in some other place or some other time. So you hear it. I'm hearing Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I'm hearing Krishna. This is how I think. When I'm focused on hearing, I think, oh good, Krishna, you're here. Now I can ask you for something. It's like so natural. Like I've got Krishna, I'm hearing, he's present. I have some experience or realization that he's in his name. Good, now I can ask you for something for the next 2 hours. I'll just ask you. Wow. So like to say I can't hear and pray, to me is like, wait a minute, it doesn't make any sense. Because that's the best time to pray, because you've captured him. You're present, he's there in the Maha Mantra. Krishna's standing in front of you. Talk to him. Tell him what's in your heart. Another meditation I could share with you. This is you might like this a lot. The holy name in Kali Yuga is the sound incarnation of Krishna. It's also, Jiva Goswami says it's a murti, Shabda Murti. It's a murti of Krishna. And if it's a murti, as Jiva Goswami says it is, then when I chant a holy name, then my murti, Radha and Krishna, have appeared. And you have your murti, you have your murti, you have your, we each have our own murtis because we're producing them with our chanting. So every time I say Hare Krishna, I've just produced Radha and Krishna in sound, and that's my Radha Krishna. So you all have your own Radha Krishna deities in the Maha Mantra. Isn't that amazing? And when you chant, your deities are there, and you're worshiping your deities through your sincere devotion. Wow. That's good. This is my Radha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. That's my Krishna. And so you have your Radha and Krishna there. So what do you want to do with them? Nothing? You want to offer prayers in your heart? You're offering prayers through emotion. You're not thinking the prayers, you're feeling it. The guys sometimes have more trouble with this idea than the women. You say, how can I feel it but not think it? Because feeling is the subtle aspect of the mind. You can feel something you're not thinking. And you can think something you're not feeling. So when we talk about bringing emotion into japa, we're not talking about bringing thoughts of what the emotion is, because that's not the emotion. And men tend to do that. Okay, I'm supposed to feel something, and then we start analyzing. Well, how does that work? And so you're in your head analyzing. You're not feeling it. Right? It's so simple. As I said, we're caught in samsara. We feel the burning of samsara. We want pure bhakti. You don't have to create that feeling because you already have it. Yes? So all you have to do is
Feel that feeling.
Bring that into your japa. Bring into your japa what you're already feeling. Amongst the millions of feelings you have, just sort that one out and go. It's time for japa. This is how I feel. You don't have to create the feeling. You already feel it. It's so simple, isn't it? Does that make sense? So you bring in that feeling. It's not a thought. You bring in that feeling. Do you feel like you're burning in samsara? You feel like, Krishna, I'd like to be at your feet. Take me out of this. If you feel that way, japa should be very easy for you. And we all feel that way. That's my opinion. Every one of us feels like that. And so we put that feeling into our chanting. Krishna, please pick me up out of this ocean, because I'll never get out myself, and I want to be at your lotus feet eternally. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So here's the thing. When you do that, I promise you, you won't have a problem with your mind. And if you do have a problem with your mind, I will promise you, you're not doing that. That's how it works. Because when emotion is strong, the mind shuts off. When emotion is weak, the mind turns on. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to give you a physiological demonstration of what it looks like to go from the heart to the mind. I'm going to start in the heart. So I'm not going to overact, but I think you can tell, you'll be able to tell the difference. So right now I'm going to chant in my heart, and I'm just going to be meditating on the fifth verse of Shastra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama. Can you feel it a little bit? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama. And I'm going to go into my head. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. See the difference? Did you see what was going on physiologically? When I'm in my head, when I'm thinking, I'm thinking. And when I'm feeling, I'm feeling. And when I'm thinking japa, it looks like this. Hare Krishna, I gotta go to the office, and I forgot to do something else, and I gotta make breakfast early. And I gotta do this, and I gotta do this and that, this and that. Why did he have to say that? I should have told him that, no, Krishna, Krishna, no, that. That's what it looks like, right? And then you're asking, why am I having so much trouble in devotional service? Well, duh, right? as opposed to I'm in the mood, whatever your mood is, or you want to say, Krishna, bring my heart to you, make me one. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Or it could be the second verse of Shishastakam. You've made approach to you so easily by your holy name. You're so merciful. And I'm just chanting, thinking, wow, Krishna's present in his name, and I'm number one rascal. And I don't deserve to have his association. And he's allowing me to associate with him. And I'm just appreciating that. And it looks very similar. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Ram, Hare Ram, and then 2 bananas, 3 apples. Oh yeah, I forgot to do that. Right? It's pretty clear, isn't it? And you want to call that japa, and you want to wonder why your spiritual life isn't doing well. And Krishna's there, you're chanting his name, and he's there, and he's like, hello, hello, you know, I'm here, and you're like, over here, in the name. What name? What are you talking about? Yeah. So, if you want pure bhakti, that's how you get it, by chanting pure. And it's really simple. So that's 20 years of realization in an hour. And if you just get this, that's it. Everything will come from this. And that's the essence. Everything else may help you. Sit straight, face your deities, chant in the morning. Of course, that's all going to help. But it helps you create an environment so you can cultivate the emotions. But if you just create that environment and think creating the environment is the perfection, because I chanted at 5 a.m. and I pronounced everything perfectly and faced my altar and finished my rounds in 2 hours. That's just you perfected the process, but not necessarily the relationship. They're 2 different things. I'll give you an example and then we'll have some questions. So, imagine this man, he's having trouble in his relationship with his wife. And he goes to a counselor, and the counselor says, you have to do nice things. So why don't you buy her some flowers? Right? And when you come home, you need to ask her how her day went. And you need to show some physical affection. Something, Give her a hug or a handshake. At least something, well, not a handshake. Show some affection. And the counselor says, if you do this, she'll appreciate it. And it's going to make a difference. So he says, okay. So he buys the flowers. He buys some smelly, he doesn't buy roses, he buys some smelly, ugly flowers that no woman would like. And he comes home and he says, I got you some flowers, and he just throws them on the table. And he goes up and he says, how was your day? And he gives her a high five. And then she starts talking to him, and he turns his back, and he walks towards the TV while she's talking, and turns it on while she's talking. And she's like, I knew this guy was bad, but I didn't realize how bad he was. And she's just like throwing things at him and screaming. So he comes back to the counselor and says it didn't work. So just relate that to Japa. I did all the processes. Got up at 5, sat up straight, I did it all, and it didn't work. Yeah. Well, what was missing? The mood, the connection, the emotion. Yeah. It's not about the flowers, it's about the connection. Yes? That's why men will spend a lot of money on their wives, and they'll think, now my wife's going to be happy with me. But if you don't connect emotionally, she won't be happy. We did a marriage workshop here in Bangalore, like 8 or 9 years ago. And we went into groups of men and women, and we asked the men, what are your problems with the wives? And we asked the women, what are your problems with the men? That was pretty interesting. I have it on my computer, what they said. And my wife did the women, and I did the men. And my wife said, the main thing the women said is lack of emotional connection. So it means the guys thought, if I just provide the house and put the kids in a good school like that, I'll be happy. So it's like, if I just chant 16 rounds, everything's good. But there's no connection. So I'm like the guy providing the money of the holy name by providing 16 rounds a day, but without emotional connection. Does that make sense? It makes sense to them. I don't know about to you guys. Just maybe you don't realize that's what the women want more than your money. Well, your money's good also. It helps, but it's not everything. So you're making an official connection, but not an emotional connection. Okay, thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. If we're scheduled to go to 9:30. Correct? 9:30? Some of you have a Japa affirmation book, and we just came out with a book in Hindi. So we brought some books in English and Hindi. And we had a workshop on self-care yesterday, and self-care is fundamental to good Japa. Do we have the books available? Anyone?
Those posters, is it?
The posters, we have the Japa card posters. We'll set them up somewhere.
Yeah.
We have posters with all the Japa affirmations. Okay, so you have a question? We have a microphone, or you need it?
Yogesh? Mic? Okay, maybe I can ask without the mic. So, Prji, thank you very much for such an amazing class and sharing your realizations. And in fact, whatever you said makes perfect sense and very much resonates with our heart because we very much want to have those feelings. I have a couple of questions. First is, so you talked about we are already having a feeling and we just have to bring that feeling in the forefront while chanting. Now, this would happen not to a newcomer. This would happen only after sufficient purification has happened. Or am I wrong in saying
No,
so?
not necessarily, because for someone to come to bhakti, they have to have some realization that they're suffering.
Okay.
And they have to have some desire to connect. So maybe after being in bhakti, your desire to connect is stronger, and maybe your realization of how much you're suffering is stronger. But we all have this realization. And so when we understand that, the Maha Mantra means exactly what is going on for us as practitioners who want to remove ourselves from Maya, want to come closer to Krishna. Maybe you want to come closer than a newer devotee, but as long as you want to come closer to Krishna and further from Maya, it's going to work to some degree, because that's your existential reality, actually.
So a related question is, so that clarifies that, anybody who is coming even for the first time has something because of his that person
At
has
least
come.
most people would.
So just to extend that question, typically like when we are preaching per se, when we are cultivating devotees, so we tend to emphasize on increasing our rounds from 1 to 2 to 4 to gradually to 16.
Yeah.
And the natural thing which we see from many is that they want to chant one round very nicely before they want to move to 2.
Yeah.
And there what we say is that actually 16 rounds is like a dose of medicine. And when we get that full dose, then we get that sufficient purification, and then the whole life is about improving the quality. So we tend to emphasize on the quantity and then quality. So is that
backwards?
Yeah.
Backwards. Because if you just emphasize the quality, automatically the number will go up. Right? It's like I was taught by some Indians how to make halwa. Halwa. How would you say it? We say halwa. Halwa. So I toast it slowly. Like I spend like a half hour or so toasting very slowly. So nothing ever gets burned. Then I would make it with like slivered almonds, cardamom, saffron, brown sugar. And I kind of perfected it. So I would assuming my halava is special, I would assume, even you don't like hollow that much, you would eat a lot of my hollow. You know, you know those balls, we call them kofta. You know, you kofta? Kofta, yeah. And then we have malpura, not the pancake malpura, but they're round. Do you have that?
Yeah.
Round, and you soak them in yogurt, right? So I had two business ideas in America, kofta and malpura. And the reason is, I'm not a business person. But the reason is, no matter how many buckets of malpura or kofta we made at our Sunday feast, there was never, ever one left. Because they were so good, people loved them so much. And no matter how many buckets of sabji that we put too much salt in, no matter how few buckets of sabji we made with too much salt in it, there was always a lot left. Right? So if your japa tastes like malpura or kofta soaked in malpura soaked in strawberry yogurt, very sweet, or blueberry yogurt, or kofta in this amazing kofta sauce. Or if your japa tastes like burnt rice or oversalted sabji, what's going to happen? So, to answer your question, I made a decision to help new people chant japa. And what I decided to do was to teach them how to chant properly so they would get a taste. And once I do that, I have no worry about how many koftas they're going to eat, because my koftas are so good, they're going to eat like 3 times more than they need. So because, people say, well, I'm trying to chant 2 rounds, and I think, you're trying to chant 2 rounds. That's a failure of the person who taught you how to chant. You're struggling to chant 2 rounds, and your Siksha Guru's got a stick behind you, 16, banging you, 16, 16. So you're doing 16 because 16 is the magic number. When in fact, it's not the magic number if you're not chanting properly. So what's the point? But if you get them to chant properly, you have 2 benefits. Number 1, they're chanting properly. And number 2, they actually want to chant more. Devotees ask me to say, how do I know my rounds are good? Because when you get to 16, you don't want to stop. How do I know my rounds are bad? When you get to 16, you celebrate. It's over. Wow. That was tough. But it's over. Oh. I can go back to my Instagram feed. Isn't it? So it's like I developed, I wrote books on japa, we made the calendar, the cards, I have 28 japa affirmations. Somewhere online, you can buy my USB sticks it has. I did all these things so people would have good japa. And so I just focus on facilitating good japa. I don't worry about the number. Because if you know how to cook good kofta and good malapura, everyone's going to overeat, guaranteed. You ever overeat something because it's good?
Yeah.
Do you ever undereat something because it's not good?
Yeah.
It's the same with japa. You're like, on your 13th round, and you're like, I don't know if I can finish those last 3. Like, it's so difficult. That's kind of a self-torture, don't you think? So I think it's our job, if we're going to teach people how to chant, we should teach them actually how to chant in a way that they'll get absorbed, like we're talking about here, like these kinds of talk. This is how you chant. We just go, here's your beat, you start here, go here, just here, and chant 1 round a day, and then go up to 2. It's like, we didn't really tell them how to chant at all. We just taught them how to do a ritual. Because we do it ourselves. So we're like, we're ritual to ritual. The cyclic succession of ritual. We don't want to do that.
Thank you, Prji. Just last extension to this question.
Okay.
Is there a fault when sometimes when we talk about Rupa Goswami saying that I wish we had millions of ears and millions of mouths? When we discuss that, we see that as an exalted example, as if that's like a very, very advanced stage when we get that taste in chanting.
Yeah.
And then we know we are not at that stage, and therefore we kind of compromise that, okay, let's not worry about taste for now, but let's, I'm just trying to understand where that thought process creeps in our training process.
Yeah.
So what's the flaw in this understanding? When we hear Rupa Goswami's example and we say that, hey, that's a very exalted position, and we will come there, it may be a lifetime of process to reach there, But till that time, maybe chant would be one round because that may not even, the process itself may not work by chanting one round. Maybe it's not sufficient enough because we also relate chanting with purification. So at least like when you said that when we chant and we end up not feeling anything because we overemphasize on hearing. One thing which we are at least taught, in the way we are brought up in Krishna consciousness is that, okay, at least by the hearing process, it's like somebody with a scrub or Krishna with a scrub, scrubbing our heart and that purification is happening. So at least that's also a positive motivation. If not that positive
But
feeling.
what do we, okay, here's the problem. I was thinking about this morning, or yesterday morning. What do you do when someone says something in Shastra, but you look at the world and you go, no, it's not like that. It's like, women are less intelligent. I was like, I've met a lot of women who are more intelligent than I am. So like, what do I do with that statement? It doesn't jive with reality. Right? So there's a lot of statements we say, yeah, what you say is true, but what about all the people who got to 16 who stopped because they don't have a taste? And what about the people who you give a taste in the beginning? They're not going to stop because why would they stop? Because they have a taste. And so it's better to get to 16 through taste because it's voluntary, it's coming from your heart. I want to do this, right? As opposed to, because here's the problem. All right, Krishna, thank you for reminding me. Do we want people to chant Krishna's name and become Krishna's devotees because they have to or because they want to? Want to is better, right? So if I can guide people in properly chanting, developing the mood, the understanding, then they'll want to. And so when Rupa Goswami says, I need millions of tongues and like that, Kavi Havi Bolo, when will that day be mine that I will feel that? Nayanam Garudashvara, when will I be crying? So you might say, Prabhupada said, first deserve and then desire. But have you ever felt when you're chanting, like, Krishna, when will I just feel something when I chant your name? Like maybe today I'll cry. That would be nice, right? It doesn't mean I think I'm on the stage of Baba. I'm just sick of having a stone heart that chants and doesn't feel anything. So when, Krishna, when could I just taste something special today? When could I, my heart maybe melt a little bit under holy name? Like, that is realistic for us because it's not imitative of a higher state that's unachievable. We're not saying, Krishna, when can I have Baba and I'm hardly on the stage of bhajan, or maybe I'm on the stage of Anartha Nivriti and I want Baba. No, that's your own. So, but can I have a drop? Could you, just a little drop of Baba, shower on me a little bit? That's really good. That's perfect. We can do those things in accordance with who we are and what our realization is. Nayanam Ashu. When will I cry? When will my voice choke? And so can we say that verse? And can it mean anything to us? It can. So yeah. When I chant, what do I feel? I just feel like I want to get my rounds done. Krishna, when will that day come when I actually want to chant, when I feel something? Maybe I don't want to pray when my hairs will stand on end because that's Baba. Okay, I'm far from Baba, but when will I feel something? Why not? You translate it into your position. So I would not underestimate how quickly some new person can advance if we give them proper guidance. I made 28 guided meditations for people to listen to before they chant Japa to get them in the mood, because I thought if I do that, at least they have a very good chance of their rounds being at least decent and having some experience. And so if you want to get those, do we have the sticks with us? Where are they? Fires. Yeah. You go online, Mahatma Prji YouTube, or we'll leave some sticks here, and I have guided meditations. You can give these to new people. They listen to them, and it just puts them in this very prayerful mood and focused mood. If you have an expert teacher, Mridanga teacher, right? In 1 month, you could be one of the best Mridanga players in ISKCON. Yeah? Better than people who've been playing Mridanga their whole life. Good teachers, everything. Right? So we need to be good teachers of the holy name. And the only way we can be good teachers of the holy name is to do it properly. Right? Because you can't, how can you teach it if you don't do it? So great impetus, one of the greatest preparations I have for giving any workshop on Japa is good Japa. Yes,
actually, like you said, that one might know many things and still not be able to do it. And sometimes the problem with knowing many things is that they don't know what works for them. So, like you talked about the mood today. So how do we keep the mood going? So sometimes we might get in the mood, but after some time,
Yeah.
it just.
Oh, that's a great question. How do you keep the mood going? Well, first thing is you want to. I would suggest this. If there's nothing else you get from this workshop, this is such good advice. Before you begin your first beat, make sure you're in the mood first. Don't think, well, I'll chant 8 rounds and then, that's the traditional wisdom. Just chant in here and the mood will come. Why wait? You don't have to wait. Prepare that mood. You're like, what am I trying to accomplish now chanting Japa? What does the holy name mean? What meaning do I want to connect with? What do I want to ask Krishna for now? And like get that emotion in your heart and then chant. So you start right from the beginning. And then what happens when you lose it? You stop. You recalibrate. You go back. One of the big reasons you lose it is because you have allowed yourself to enter into your life through your mind when you're chanting. You don't, okay, you want to talk to me, you have some important things to reveal from your heart, and so I'm like, yes. And I look at you and I listen to you, right? Because that's important to the process. So I give you time. So what are you giving Krishna? Right? So I should give that time to the holy name. Krishna deserves it, and I deserve it also. Right? So that's fundamental. And the reason we have problems with the mind, and at least another reason, is because we don't block everything out during that time. You allow things to come in. Like just close your door on your life. And someone's knocking on the door and say, my office is closed, I'll be back later. Just internally, you close the door in your life. And then it's so easy. And then you don't lose the mood. But if you don't close the door, if the door is open, then you see out the door and you see so many people and you start talking to them and there's so many things outside, but the door is closed. You've closed it, and then when you chant, your mind it's not thinking about anything because the door is closed. That's why we think about it, because we don't close the door. So close the door, get into the mood, and begin chanting. And you'll see like a huge difference in the quality of your japa, and then a huge difference in your experience of japa, and then a huge difference in your spiritual life.
And that's where morning will help, because in morning it's easier to close the doors.
It's easier, much more difficult later. But somehow we have to close it. So yes, morning is easier, but even the morning we may not do it because the mind is in passion. You can't chant japa in passion. That's where all the mind problems happen. You have to be in sattva guna. And many of us do not live a sattvic life. So when we sit down to chant japa, we don't even know what sattva guna is. So we're chanting japa and we're doing things. Chaitanya Charan said, if you're passionate and then you think, I'm chanting japa, that was a waste of 2 hours. I could have invested in stocks and pushed up my business.
He compares it to speed breaker.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a speed breaker.
Yeah. So, but he said something beautiful. He said, you think you're doing nothing in japa, you're doing the most important thing, which is you're working on your relationship with Krishna. So that just kind of like counteracts the idea of wasting time doing nothing. So now I'm working on my relationship with Krishna. Close the door. This is, like you're going to study for something, close the door. Right? You got a meeting, close the door. Anything important, you close the door. Is Krishna important enough to close the door on the world? Of course. I'll close the door in the world to watch a movie, but I won't close the door in the world to chant japa. Like, what's that all about? That's crazy, right?
So that one last question. Only sometimes like many have asked that some like when
I
you're
think that now. Battery said.
sometimes when you're prayerfully chanting, let's say,
Sometimes when you're prayerfully chanting,
yeah, like let's say meditating on the second verse Shastakam.
meditating on the second verse.
Some people come and tell that we feel like a criminal and we don't want to feel bad about ourselves.
Oh, you mean the third verse. Do not abuse me. I feel like a criminal. I don't want to feel bad about myself. Okay, this is a good question. Third verse of Shastak, I'm feeling like lower than a blade of grass. Who wants to feel lower than a blade of grass? Nobody. That's like low self-esteem taken to a very extreme level. You go to your therapist, and he says, how do you feel today? And say, I feel lower than a blade of grass. He calls an ambulance, takes you to the mental hospital. Right? Something is wrong with this guy. Bhaktisiddhanta said, the third verse, this is important, the third verse of Shishastakam, this is how it translates into Japa. Oh Krishna, I need your help. You ever met a proud person, like a really proud person? Do they need God's help? I don't need anybody's help. They can do it all themselves. Right? What does humility mean? Krishna, I need your help. I can't do it. So what do I need help doing? I want to love you. That's a big project. I need your help loving you. I'm having a hard time. I'm not good at it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. In humility, I'm depending on you. Please help me. So you're chanting in a helpless state because you want love of Krishna. So that's Trinadati for Japa. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Stein asked a question. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Nowadays, like very recently, I have associated myself with ISKCON. So initially, when I started my meditation, yes, the thought process was to discipline my life, to do meditation, to understand spiritual life. But eventually, the byproduct is such that I am getting associated with Lord Krishna. However, I feel the start was little mean and little where I was, focusing on my discipline and my work-life balance. So, was it wrong?
Well, here's an interesting thought, because we're always thinking about ourselves. Because, we're number one, right? So, Japa, in the higher stage of Japa, in a pure devotee, he sees Krishna Lila. That's his meditation. He's meditating on Krishna's pastimes. So, if the highest form of japa is to meditate on Krishna's pastimes, the lowest would be to meditate on my pastimes. Because my ego is the center. So, we're trying to go from the center of the universe, me, to Krishna, the center. So that's the awkwardness of being too me-centered. So me wanting to be purified, yes. But me as the center of my life, and praying to Krishna to help me become better in my life, it's not the highest standard. It's okay for people who aren't devotees, because it brings them. But once you're a devotee, it's like Krishna, you want to ask Krishna to help you achieve the highest level. That's what you could be asking. Right? I mean, okay, let's go back to this idea. Krishna comes, knock knock, who's there? Krishna who? Lord Sri Krishna, Bhagavan. Okay. Yeah, how can I help you? I've come to let you know. You can ask anything. Right? So what are you going to ask? Okay. Could you get me the job as senior manager for this company? It's like that story Prabhupada tells. There's a boatman, in some parts of India, I don't know if they do it anymore, but they would just push the boat. They'd walk along the shore and push the boat. And the boatman thinks, when I get rich, I'm going to pad bank of the river with pillows, so when I walk along the river, I can walk on pillows. He says he doesn't realize when you get rich, you won't be doing this anymore. So it's like, well, I'll ask Krishna to pad my river, pad my bank balance. But you could ask him for love. That's infinitely more valuable. So just to understand what is the goal? The goal is to be the humble servant, the lover. And then, then the I is now the real I the servant I, in relation to Krishna. Then it all works. So I is not bad, it's just I, false I is bad. I the center, I the controller, I the enjoyer. Yeah.
Prabhuji, I have a question that to build up the concentration, so I create an environment like, one flower room and one dressing room for the Krishna and Radha, and doing the shower and then putting the clothes on and then lotus feet, decorating them and then doing abhishekam and flower offering. So 5-6 japas are gone in that. So is it correct or
Very
wrong?
good question. Well, she's asking the time, right? You're asking like spending.
I think she's saying she mentally
She's
creates this. She
meditating
mentally creates this
Oh,
image. She imagines
okay.
that she's doing all this.
Oh, you imagine you're doing it.
Yeah.
5-6 rounds are gone at
Did
that,
you-
so by doing everything.
Did you realize you were chanting when you were doing it? You're conscious of your chanting?
Yes, that is there.
And what's your mood when you're chanting?
That is like, I'm doing seva for God and then abhishekam is done and then aarti is being done and then.
I don't want to say no. But you take in everything we said today, also, and consider it, and then answer the question yourself.
Yeah.
At least try what we said today. Try it and then compare it, and then see.
I think really your point about thoughts versus feeling was important.
Yeah.
This could also be mind can also take us on a joyride of thoughts.
It's true. That's why if you just try to chant, putting in emotion and focus,
Yes.
and see what your experience is. See how you look. I think you could do what you're doing, but it may need a little more focus on the japa as part of it.
Can devotees raise their hands so that we can pass on the mic?
Prabhuji backside.
Okay. Maybe we can do like Prabhuji, Mataji, Prabhuji, like.
Prabhu Hare Krishna. So sometimes we chant for the Guru's health or something like that, or some other person. So how should our mood be then? It should be like praying Krishna to engage me in a service or for the improvement of Guru's health.
Well, you're praying to Krishna, but you're not praying for your Guru's health every day. Or your Thakur Maharaj is your Guru, and you look for it. I would say probably you want to set aside like an extra round or something. It's nice, of course. Prabhupada, we pray for him in Kirtan. It's natural if your Guru needs your prayers, but it could also be a distraction at some point. You could pray for all living entities also, right? An extension of your question, and maybe extension of your question, is some devotees think of service when they're chanting. But it's not really the way that is prescribed. Because if you are present to the holy name, that's the main thing. And the holy name is really meant for your purification. You can pray for your Guru, to the deities and so on. But the holy name is really for your upliftment. We were saying yesterday, The holy name is a very selfish activity. Japa is very selfish because we need to be purified so that we need to be selfish so we can become selfless, so we can help other people. So you kind of consider all that. Mhm.
Harish,
Where are you?
thank you, Faizi, for a very nice lecture. The question is, in your books, you mention about the affirmations.
Yeah.
Affirmation. So, what power these affirmations have? And my thought process is like, if we ask questions, entire questions to mind, then mind searches out and tries to answer question. And then at least we will be truthful. But in the affirmations, we might not be following them, but we just say it. So,
Well, he's asking about affirmations. The idea of the affirmation was to create the optimal state of consciousness to be in when you're chanting. Let's say you're a cricketer. What do you call them? A person who plays cricket? Cricketer? Cricket player? Cricketer.
Yeah.
You're a cricketer, right? And now what's the big game? World Cup, or is that something else? Whatever you have. That one game when everyone in India is watching TV. That World Cup final. You're in the World Cup final, right? And to be successful as an athlete or as a performer, you have to be in a certain consciousness, isn't it? Like very focused, like we're gonna win. This is it. I gotta see us winning, you know. I'm envisioning an hour and a half from now, we've won the game, and you know, everybody's gotta be in a certain optimal consciousness to be able to win this. So your coach is talking to everyone in the locker room and putting everyone in. So the affirmations are the same. It's the exact same thing for Japa. To put you in the optimal consciousness for you to have successful Japa. Right? So that's the purpose of it. So now, when you recite them, the idea is that even if I don't feel that way, I'm going to try to feel it when I recite it. I'm going to try to enter. What is that consciousness? So one of the affirmations is, I get to chant, I want to chant, and I love to chant. And you're thinking, I don't feel like that. I don't want to chant, and I want to eat. You know, whatever. So then you think, okay, I'm going to say this like I mean it. I get to chant, I want to chant, I love to chant. So you start thinking, but what's that feeling? Well, I'm so fortunate I have the holy name, and this is Krishna's mercy, and Krishna's present right here. And so you start entering modes of appreciation just by reciting it. And the power of reciting it with an intention to feel it is that you start to shift your mind. And then you begin to chant, and you chant, and now you're chanting not because I have to, but because I want to, because I appreciate it. So that's the idea of affirmation. It shifts your mind, but it shifts your heart, it shifts your consciousness. You know, many devotees told me that one affirmation changed their japa. Just say, I get to chant, I want to chant, and I love to chant. Just, it's not about I have to chant. This is voluntary. This is mercy that's come to me, that I've chosen to do this. So I'll tell you a story where this affirmation came from. There's a counselor, and often devotees would come to the counselor who are not following their vows strictly. And she would say something that you're going to think is really strange. This is another throw this devotee out the window statement. She would tell them, you don't have to chant. So, why would she say that? But the psychology was that they were chanting, feeling forced to chant, like I have to and I don't want to. And so she said, you don't have to. So now the only way they would chant is because they want to, because they got rid of the I have to. So where's the motive going to come from? It has to come from a genuine desire. And she said they all start chanting again. So that's what we're trying to, optimize what would be the best consciousness to be in when we're chanting. And so, if you look at the affirmations, just think of the opposite of the affirmation. You know, see each affirmation is like solving a problem that our conditioned mind and heart would have. I don't want to chant. I don't love to chant. I don't think it's anything. I don't think it's an opportunity. It solves that problem. I feel Radha and Krishna's presence when I chant. I don't feel their presence. So I say that I feel their presence. I'm open. I'm open to feel their presence. Okay, maybe I don't, but Krishna's in his name. I know that. I'm open to feel that. It's a good state to be in when you chant. Is that okay?
It's basically like it impacts subconsciously.
Yeah, it impacts. But you have to be open to it. You have to allow it to impact you.
Like a self-talk.
Yeah, like let's say you have doubt about yourself winning this game. And I talk to you enough so that you lose this self-doubt. I've changed your belief about yourself. It's like that. Sometimes you have to change your belief about yourself or about Japa. What's possible. But you can change those things. Like, why would you want to have any negative attitudes toward Japa? It doesn't help. So these are just positive attitudes you bring into your Japa. Because negative attitudes make it difficult. I mean, these are all principles from the workshop just put into affirmations. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just did it. If you ask me how I created any class, I can't even remember any workshop, how I did it and why I did it. But I'm glad I did it. Now we have the second book, Self-Care Affirmations. I've written the third book, Marriage Affirmations, which my wife is now editing. We're going to write vow affirmations. We're going to write forgiveness affirmations, because these are courses I've taught, and then humility. So we're going to just do affirmations, because I didn't know how powerful they were. Because even very advanced devotees who didn't even believe in affirmations would say, you know, the book really helped me. I was like, okay. Whatever the science is, it works, and Krishna just let me use the science, so I'm going to write more affirmation books, because they work. So, alters your mind. Anyway, by practicing, you'll understand. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Actually, I just had one question.
Okay.
That you said that chanting cannot be done in a mode of passion, but then actually our whole lifestyle is like running around like a company or anything where we are whole day in anxiety. Almost 22 hours we are in anxiety, working pillar to post. Then suddenly, and it's all this meditation seems that it can be done only in a peaceful atmosphere. Only then we can. And then how do we suddenly come to this point or complete this?
At night, before you go to bed, you'll read something, chant around and read, and it'll start decompressing you. In the morning, you'll get up early, take a bath, read some shlokas, and just, and then remind yourself, I'm chanting. This is not time for passion. It's like when you're a student, right? You're partying this and that, but you have an exam tomorrow, so you leave the party early. And you leave the passion and you go to the library and you just calm down. Isn't it? So it's just really, I think it's more of a question of just understanding what is the optimal consciousness to be in to chant, and then just creating that as best you can before you chant. Just because we do it, any time in your life you've had to study. Study's a pretty solid activity. You gotta focus. Right? So, you've got motives, you're being pushed. You want to be top in your school. So that motive causes you to focus. So we can do it. Sometimes we're just not motivated. And then we say we can't do it, but we don't realize, we're not honest enough with ourselves to realize it's just we're not motivated, but we could do it. It's just, it's like what you say is true, but it's not entirely true. It seems that way as long as your motive is not strong. When your motive is stronger, then you'll be able to work through that. Right? Yes.
Thank you, Prji, for such helpful answers full of realizations. You talked about chanting with offenses. that we don't really want to keep chanting whole life with struggle and with offenses, and then we complain about things not working or being spiritual life. When we talk about Namaprad to Namabhas to Shuddhanam, one of the things we have heard is okay, if we are committing offenses, the remedy is chant more.
Yeah.
So how do we understand this? If we can?
Oh yeah, this is such a good question. I think this is another, like this, just here in chant is half the story.
Yeah.
This is another half the story. And a lot of times, someone will give a class, but they only know half the story. So you hear half the story. And if you ever feel like, seems like something's missing or it doesn't make entire sense, it's probably because there's another part of the story. So here's the other part of the story that's really interesting. Because I think we all know if we are making offenses and we just keep chanting, we just make more offenses. Right? So it's like sometimes I'm just not going to chant. It's like, it's like sometimes it says, worst thing you can do is offend a devotee, and sometimes devotees just say, I'm not going to associate because I make offenses. That's not a solution, but there's truth to it. If I'm going to offend you, I just better not be near you. So Bhaktivinoda resolved it. He said, chant with remorse for having committed the offenses. So now I'm chanting remorseful, so it's rectifying that mentality that caused me to make the offense. And that way, it purifies me because, the idea is keep chanting, but keep chanting without offense. But Bhaktivinoda is saying, if I chant with remorse, that will help me stop making offenses. Because if I just chant, it's like, well, I make offenses, all I have to do is keep chanting.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, you have a bad marriage, just stay together, Prabhu, it'll work out. So there's a few other things you need to do, just stay together. Right? Just stay together with the holy name, it's all going to work out. I think you need to go into holy name therapy for a while. And then it'll work out. So it's something like that. So that's the other hand. Yes?
Prabhuji, I have one more question.
Only one?
I have one more question. Like you said, when we pray,
What's he supposed to say? I have one more question. And then he's going to say, can I ask it? And I say yes, but that's your one more question. Okay.
You said when you're praying, so Krishna is hearing, and it's like, oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna is what? So sometimes there are services that are assigned to us which might seem like we're bitten more than we can chew, or we really want to do it, but we feel helpless. And there is this philosophy that Krishna is our maintainer. And but sometimes when we ask Krishna about assistance in service and all that, is it correct? Because it also feels like we are making Krishna our order carrier.
No, not this way. He's saying, can you ask Krishna to help you with service, or could you provide other people to help you? Yeah, definitely. Especially if it's like burning you out and it's not healthy for you. But you can ask Krishna for anything if it's meant to please him. It's meant to help your service, yeah. I mean, look at Prabhupada's prayer, Markandeya Bhagavatam. Please help me. Please help me speak in a way that they will understand. Yeah, that's what we're supposed to do. All right.
There's one question that how to convince a person who is like doing Sudarshan Kriya for the last 15 years and he says, what happiness you get in 2 hours, I get it in 15 minutes. And so you also try Sudarshan Kriya while you're waiting.
How to convince a person who is doing Sudarshan Kriya
Yeah, Roji, I can give some
for
context.
the last 15 minutes, and he says, what happens in your 2 hours, I get in 15 minutes, and he says, you try once this thing, and we are not feeling confident. All right, tell me about Sudarshan
So
Kriya.
there is some
Is that Sadhguru's thing?
No, it's art of living. So there is, yeah. So they have some, I think, breathing exercises. Yes, some form of meditation, and probably this question is coming from the kind of bliss they experience in 15 minutes versus the kind of exhaustion or frustration.
Means I'm not.
Is that the question?
Means like he's saying, why don't you try for 15 minutes and then check? So I'm not confident because I am not confident on my chanting that I can convince him that you will get more blessings.
But no. The goal is not bliss. We're not after bliss. We're after loving, serving Krishna.
We are not the center.
You know, this two ladies came to see Prabhupada and they were meditating. And Prabhupada said, "So what's the goal of your meditation?" They said, "Peace." Prabhupada said, "What is this peace?" We're after loving Krishna. Sometimes it's not peaceful. Sometimes it's not blissful. So, but that's like, that's a high level of bhakti where you would suffer for Krishna.
But how to convince this person?
Oh, how to convince him? Probably not.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for
Give him gulab jamuns. How to convince him? You just say, "Here, eat this." I want to finish this question. Okay, this is interesting. Like, how can you convince anyone that Krishna consciousness is blissful if you're not blissful? Okay, I'm going to do an advertisement for chanting Hare Krishna. So I would like all of you to learn how to chant, because if you chant, it makes you really blissful, like me. You're like, I don't want to be like him, right? Yeah? So, you should chant. It's so ecstatic. You can't believe what I experience when I chant. It's like amazing. It's like oceans of nectar and ecstasy, love. And really, yeah. You can feel that when you chant. So if you're trying to convince anybody of something that you're not experiencing, why waste your time? That's the best way to convince somebody. Yes.
Thank you so much for the wonderful lecture. My question is, sometimes, as you mentioned, Maya enters into our Japa, right? The time during the Japa. It's so hard to control our mind as mind is going through like a couple of emotions and all the stuff. Is it the right way sometimes we put bhajan or kirtan in the environment so as we control our mind and do the japa? Is it the right or the wrong way to?
Oh, to hear? Are you saying to hear kirtan?
While japa, so
Yeah, if you have more than one head. Until then, it's not recommended. It would be like the same question, can I read? And what you could do is you think, well, if I hear a kirtan, it'll help me get centered, or like, so hear the kirtan, get in the mood, and then chant. You know what we did? This is so cool. This is an idea I had. So Badahari and I did a little japa retreat last summer in England, and I said, what I think would be nice is we do a kirtan, like the kind of kirtan everybody's just dripping in ecstasy, and then in the middle of it we stop and we say, now keep this mood and chant japa with that. Keep that mood. So we just stop and then go into japa, Hare Krishna, Hare, keeping that same mood. So if that helps you, why not? But doing both, as Prabhupada said, it's redundant. Do one or the other.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Where?
I'm here. So when we deal with smaller children, age between 5 to 10 years like that, so it's very hard to tell them or convince them about chanting. All that I try and do is, you get this if you do your.
No.
And is there something else that we can do with this knowledge?
Same answer I gave him. You're eating something and you're like, oh my God, this is so good. And he's looking at you. He's like, can I have some of that? So you're chanting japa, and your japa looks like this. He's looking at you and saying, I'm never going to do that. I'm going to be miserable. That's one thing to consider. My daughter, when she was very young, one Janmashtami, she must have been like 6 or 7. She's like, I'm gonna chant 16 rounds today. She just came to Mangalarti and walking around the temple. It's like, everyone's like, you see your daughter? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, what did you do? And I go, I just teach Japa retreats and I get up early and chant, and she sees that all the time, so maybe something happened. So that's why I say that. I think it's foolish to try to get somebody to do something that we can't do or we don't like. And I think it's also, we have to be careful in how our children process the holy name, because at one point we did something really horrible in the early days of ISKCON. When students or in the Guru Pool didn't behave properly, we would say, go in the corner and chant Japa. So Japa was a punishment. So now you equate when you grow up, like there are young, they're not young anymore, but there are students like say, who went through that, say, I can't chant Japa because it was like a poison for me. So you always want people to do things because they want to, not because they have to. And you could, you can inspire your kids and say, would you chant Japa with me? Because when you chant with me, I get inspired by you, and I chant better rounds. So that way you kind of like coax them in,
Yeah.
Yes.
So my question is regarding affirmation.
Yeah.
So whenever we try to do the affirmation to push our confidence, something like that, like I can do it alone, I can do it myself, God is with me. And next moment you end up doing like you try to get the help. So what was missing in the affirmation? Like basically what I'm trying to say is that you do the affirmation for something, but you actually end up doing something reverse. You are not because you are not even trying and doing something.
Because the reverse is the affirmation you already have.
Okay.
That's it.
And then this affirmation didn't replace the old affirmation, so the old belief remains. And the new affirmation, it was just said in the head. You didn't really believe it. You're saying it, I can do it, but inside you're like, no, I can't. Right?
So how do we correct it?
You have to be able to adopt the belief that I can do it. But maybe you can't do it. Maybe it's the wrong belief. Because maybe you do need help to do it. So that's also something to consider. Like, I could be the president of India. No, you can't. You might want to graduate first grade, before you think about it. So you don't want to affirm something that may be like against physical reality. It's not possible. But if you're affirming something that could potentially be possible, then you have to realize that if I believe in myself, it'll be better, and kind of reason that if I don't believe in myself, nothing I want to do, I'll never be able to do.
Is it lack of effort then, like you're not putting enough effort into doing that, and that's the reason you basically keep pulling you?
Not necessarily, it could be, but it doesn't matter how much effort you put into something you don't believe you can achieve, because if you don't believe you can achieve something, you'll sabotage yourself, because you want your beliefs to juggle with reality. So sometimes you can just realize why you don't have the confidence. Maybe something, little thing, you failed a test 20 years ago, and then you realize that's stupid. And then so you move that out, and now you have the confidence. So just maybe something that's blocking it, or whatever. One choice you made, you feel ashamed about, but you realize it's just kind of a human weakness that everybody has. And so you get rid of it, and then you can believe into it. I can do this. It takes a little practice, but that's the problem. The belief, your belief, is the dominator. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu, you emphasized on the quality, but you gave the analogy of Malpua and Kofta. So just trying to draw that analogy, I read about one of the management studies where I think two groups were made, and one group was made to produce more on the quantity part, and the other group was to focus on the quality part. And then at the end of the study, it was found that the group that was to focus on the quantity part, even the quality of that group was better. So I was just wondering that should it be just the quality that we should be focusing on, or quality plus quantity that we should focus on?
Well, quality plus, but I still would say that I mean, that's a study in the corporate world. I don't think it spills over into Japa, because our whole philosophy is like, we can imagine Takaharidas must have had an amazing taste for the holy name to chant 22 hours a day. And we know, as Prabhupada said, and we know for us getting 16 can be difficult because we lack the taste. So how could we go from 16 to 192? Just by being told to do that. We wouldn't be able to do it, but if we had the taste, we could do it. And so it's just my experience. And it is, and Sachinanda Swami is kind of like the guru of the whole Japa movement. He often says, if not always says, in his Japa workshops, how long can you go on chanting if you don't have a taste? And so we see many devotees could not maintain 16 because they're making offenses. And, okay, I'm going to give it, this is going to sound weird to some people, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, if you're chanting the holy name offensively, that Krishna is not there. The only thing that's there is the sound, but it's not actually Krishna. It's just a material sound. And so, if that's true, have you ever experienced the holy name, like you're chanting and it's like, it doesn't feel like Krishna, you're just bored, right? That means Krishna's not there because the heart's not there. Krishna will only come where there's devotion. So if there's no devotion, it's like he said, unless I'm chanting, Krishna, let me serve you, Krishna doesn't come. So then I started thinking, well, what if we made up a mantra? Like Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola. Would you like to try to chant that mantra? Let's try it, see how you like it. Coca-Cola, 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 Coca-Cola. Right, you do this as an experiment, and you will realize that your chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is sometimes non-different than chanting Coca-Cola. There's nothing in the Coca-Cola mantra, neither in your Hare Krishna mantra, and the feeling will be the same. Wow. What do you think? Because he's saying it's a material sound unless there's bhakti, and Coca-Cola is a material sound. So what's the difference? In your actual experience of chanting, there's not going to be a whole lot of difference, right? So, the corporate world, people are motivated by different things also. Job security, pay raises, and so it complicates the experiment. But for us, the best thing is our own motivation. What will motivate us? And having a taste. What does Krishna say in the Gita? Having a taste is how you renounce everything. So the sign of an advanced devotee is to have a taste for chanting. Hare Krishna.
So we wish we could have continued hearing from Prabhuji forever, but in the interest of time, we'll have to just take two more questions.
You can hear forever if you go to the book table.
Yes. So yeah, I'll make the conference towards the end, but we'll just take last two questions. Prabhuji, you and you. We'll just take last two and quick questions.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, like it is said that the more the speed in chanting, the concentration is more.
The more the what?
The more the speed in chanting, the speed like
concentration is more.
More. Like the signal devotee say has to drive a car like in a very high speed, the concentration is more. So how do I understand this?
How do I understand it? I don't understand. Doesn't make sense. I think it's related more to that ritualistic side. Like I can't control my mind. Chant louder. I can't control my mind. Chant faster. Why not actually get into the proper mood? You want to hear something interesting? After Japa retreats, which are 6 days, like all day, from 5 in the morning till 8:30 in the evening, we're together, chanting Japa, talking about Japa, discussing Japa, reflecting on Japa, learning about the holy name, and doing kirtan at night. And it's a very common thing, I'm not exactly sure why, that at the end of the Japa retreats, for many of the people there, their Japa slows down. It takes them like 2.5 hours to chant.
More absorbed.
More absorbed, relishing, not trying to get it done. So, I mean, I find it kind of strange that you're trying to chant so fast that you just want to get it done. Relishing, because my fear is that if you focus on faster, it's just like the goal is to get them done in the name of that's good. But when you relish it, like, you're not anxious to get it done. You fall in love with this beautiful woman, you're not anxious to drive her home fast. Go slowly. Take your time. Something like that. There's no Shastric evidence, right or wrong. I'm just saying from experience that this is what I've seen. But Prabhupada did say that, yeah. Want to control your mind, chant louder. I don't know about the faster, but that's not like a battle with the mind thing. But I'd rather not battle with my mind. I'd rather put my mind to sleep and go into my heart and pray. Because I can ask Krishna for anything. That's a big opportunity. Okay, one more question.
Last, yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for this session. So my question is there a preparation before chanting? Because we are in
That's
mode of
what he said.
passion and getting into the mood is too far. So how can we prepare for chanting?
It's up to you how you want to prepare. Definitely you have to prepare. And what I would say, when you go on the altar, for those who go on the altar, before they go on the altar, they say prayers for purification of the body. And then they do Ajman, and then they go on. And when they go on the altar, it's like, okay, I'm on the altar. I didn't just, like, okay, Krishna, here I come, and just jump on the altar. There's some purification. So I think it's exactly like that with Japa. Like you're going on the altar of the holy name. So it's like, okay, what am I doing? Just be conscious and aware of what I'm doing before I go on the altar. So however, prayers to the holy name, reading affirmations, meditating on how I want to connect with Krishna when I chant, what emotion I want to bring in, anything. Prayers to the previous acharyas, prayers to your guru, please help me. Whatever you think will inspire you. You're going on the altar of the holy name, just as the Pujari goes on the altar. So there should be some purification that's suitable for you. Is that okay? I'll leave the rest up to you.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mahatma Prabhu, for enlightening us so wonderfully and sharing with us your years and years of realization. If all of us feel that this has helped in our chanting and this is going to help in our chanting, let us all loudly and with feelings chant once Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Just a few announcements before we end. So some of you may have also come for